Welcome to Eddie's Launchpads, the Dogsthorpe Infant School podcast for parents, carers, teachers and schools. We are the primary school that teaches children to be ready, be safe, be respectful, and never forget to dream, believe, and shine.
This is your captain speaking. We've been cleared for departure.
Okay, Eddie, start the countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's go.
Part of the Hampton Academies Trust.
When you were at school, did you ever think that one day you'd write a novel? What about if you're still at primary school, and we know that there are children who listen into this show? Are you around about 9 or 10? Have you got a story that you're writing? Fancy meeting somebody who's going to be on the show today who wrote their first novel when they were 10. We welcome to the show Ramya. Welcome to the show, Ramya.
Thank you, Dave. It's lovely to be here.
People can tell by that lovely accent of yours that you were born and brought up in a different country. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Ramya Julian, as Dave said, and I grew up in India. And it was lovely, Dave. I moved to London when I was 25, and I found that there were a few differences, but London never made me feel alien because it's such a confluence of different cultures and people that I never felt like I was from a different country. And yeah, I love both the places that I've lived in. I trained to be a dentist actually, and now I'm an author illustrator. I have two little girls, both of whom are in primary school. One is 5 and the other is 9.
It must be a bit different to the weather, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In India, at least in the place that I lived in, it was hotter and hottest. But of course, there are colder places in India as well, yes.
Yeah, a lovely country. If you're listening around in India, we've got listeners all around the world. Welcome, wherever you're listening. It's great that you're with us. Now, Ramya, you wrote your first story. I know it was only for your brother, but you wrote your first story when you was 10. Is that correct?
Yes, it was a detective novel. And strangely, it was about 4 boys. And as I was writing it, I was wondering why I'm writing about 4 boys when I should have obviously made one of them, at least one of them, a girl. And I think that's what really got me into diversity and thinking about things in different terms. Because at that time, at least, most of the books I read featured boys, like Harry Potter and things. So yeah.
Now you've written novels and you've picture books, which we're going to talk about in a little while, and no doubt you've clearly got a gift of writing. When it comes to your creativity, where do you get your inspiration and where do you go to write? Have you got a particular room or something?
Well, I'm a mother, so I just fit my writing into whatever pockets of time and space I get. Well, as for inspiration, I think I've always been writing in some way or the other. I was about 6 years old when my parents told me what an author is, and I remember something sort of clicked in my mind, and I was like, "Oh, that's what I want to be when I grow up." But then I trained to be a dentist, studied biology and things. And well, inspiration, well, of late, when you read the news, you feel that the world is very, or at least I do, I feel it's very riven with divisive rhetoric. And I feel it's important for children to read stories about empathy, social justice, peace, diversity. And I'm not championing diversity for diversity's sake. That is important. Diversity is important, but also diversity for excellence's sake. You can't progress as a species if you only allow a portion of the species to contribute. Everyone has something to contribute. Everyone has something important to say or do or speak or act. And I think it's important for children to read about stories about people who look like them, people who don't look like them, but people who've always felt the same as them. People who felt sad, scared, anxious, angry, whatever it is. But all of these people went on to do these marvelous things, and I love telling these stories. And when I speak to children, I sort of want them to see that they have also got this spark of divinity or whatever it is within them, and they can also do these things. So that's why I'm driven to write these stories.
And it's so very, very important, particularly for the children that we work with, the very young. That
Yeah.
often a lot of the role models, the heroes, are
Yeah.
chiseled jawed, superheroes, and
Yeah.
and really our greatest heroes are the ones like you've covered in your picture books, who've literally either saved the world or changed the world for the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I love about your picture books. So
Oh,
can we
thank you.
move on, if it's all right? We'll get on to your novels in a little while, but can we get on to your picture books first of
Yeah,
all?
of course, Dave. Yeah.
I'll let you direct us down that road as to particular ones you want to highlight, or other. I mean, obviously you want to highlight all
Yeah.
of them, but give us a flavour of them.
Well, you could ask me why I chose to write about each of these people. Well, the reason is that there was some aspect of their story that really appealed to me. Like, say, Marie Curie's story. She lost her mother when she was really young, when she was only 12 years old. And apparently, she was really depressed for a while after that, understandably so. And they were really poor. But she and her sister had this interesting arrangement where Marie worked while her sister studied medicine. So Marie sponsored her sister's education, and then her sister, in turn, sponsored Marie's education. And then that gave birth to one of the world's greatest scientists. So, none of their lives have been really easy. Or like Nelson Mandela, he was in prison for 27 years, and I still can't wrap my mind around it. How someone could be imprisoned for that long and still not give up hope. That is amazing. Or Noor Inayat Khan, I love her story. So she is a Sufi Muslim, and because of her religious beliefs, she was a pacifist. She did not believe in war. But then during the Second World War, when she found out what was happening with the Nazis and how they were treating the Jews, she felt it was wrong to stay quiet. She felt it was wrong to be a pacifist at a time like that. So she wanted to act, but she wanted to fight, but she did not want to be in a position where she would be at risk of hurting someone else. So she preferred to put her own life at risk, and she chose to train as a wireless operator. And this was an incredibly difficult job. A wireless operator is a type of spy who collects the messages from all around Europe, and she was actually the first woman to do this. She had to collect all the secret messages from the spy network in Europe and relay it back to London. And the life expectancy for this job was unfortunately only 3 weeks, but she still chose to do it because she felt that she had to contribute in a meaningful way. And she did it for 5 whole months, and even then she was caught only because someone betrayed her. But she was so brave about it and so idealistic. And I love that. I still can't read her story without tearing up a
No.
bit. So, yeah. And another story like Ada Lovelace. You would, on the surface of it, you would think Ada Lovelace had everything. She was the world's first computer programmer, for those who don't know. And this was even before computers were invented. So she was also the daughter of Lord Byron, the poet. So you would think Ada Lovelace had it all, a wealthy family, and she was gorgeous. I mean, I saw her pictures. But then she had a really difficult childhood because her parents separated just, I think, before she was about a year old. And her mother kept Ada with her, but her mother wasn't very fond of Ada either. She literally referred to the child as it in her letters. And but Ada was a genius. She loved maths and she loved music, and she used maths to learn music and she used music to learn maths. But what appealed to me about her was that when she was about 10 years old, she couldn't walk for a whole year because she had severe measles. So she spent that entire year in bed and she spent all of it reading. So she educated herself. And I like that. So she kept going despite the pain. So I like this common thread of optimism, this fierce optimism that doesn't allow you to give up. And another thing that appeals to me is how human all of our heroes are. Like, I wrote about Dr. Shireen Ebadi, who's a human rights activist from Iran, and she was imprisoned for a few weeks for speaking up about the atrocities committed by the administration then. And she has described quite vividly in her book called Iran Awakening about how scared she felt. And she was so scared that she regained her childhood stutter. You'd assume that, someone who's so heroic would be immune from fears and anxieties. But when I read about these people, I see that they're real just like us and they feel all the fears and the anxiety and the sorrows that we do, but they still choose to go on despite that. And that is really inspiring. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why I chose each of these people.
Yeah. I mean, the when I went onto your website and I looked at the different people who are covered in this fantastic series, and listeners do go on to the text of the podcast and get on to the website and have a look and see for
Yeah.
yourself. There's a fantastic array of people, and what I like about it, folks,
Yeah.
if you're listening to this, your child might be into all sorts of heroes. They might be into games on their computer or whatever, on their game machine, or they may be watching films like Superman and the Hulk and all these wonderful heroes who can smash down things and build things up and everything. What Ramya's provided here is a set of heroes. And I'm looking down the list now, folks, and I see nothing but heroes. Heroes like Louis Braille. I mean, he brought the written word to people who couldn't see it.
Yeah.
He literally changed the world. He didn't, there was none of this lifting up a subway train and rescuing people. He rescued people out of darkness by giving them a way of reading books that are still read in that way today. Newspapers and magazines and books are all read through the work of Louis Braille. And all of these people from, Gandhi and the message of freedom that he brought, Nelson Mandela, all of these people that you've written about in these picture books, Ramya, is just absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
And
Yeah, I
because
love
that
their story.
and because they're picture books, and because you're such a gifted illustrator, I'm guessing that for people who buy these books, the beautiful pictures that are on the front carry their way through the book, do they? Through their stories.
Oh, yeah. Yes. The collage on the front cover is from the illustrations inside the book. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you need to get these books, folks, because we need to get them at Dogsthorpe Infant School, because there are some amazing stories from superheroes. Now, I honestly, I'm looking down and I just see superheroes. And if you're into STEM, which is science, technology, and maths, and we've done that with Lego at Dogsthorpe Infant School, and I've taught STEM through Lego, and we've built all sorts of things, robots and bridges and things like that. You've provided a book of women involved in STEM, haven't
Yes.
you?
Yes. I actually wrote it for my daughters, Dave. So that's a funny story. Actually, it started during COVID. That's how I started writing these books, actually. And one night, after reading to my older daughter, who was about 4 then, I asked her what she wanted to be when she grew up. And she said she wanted to be a princess. And the princesses are all very well. I wanted my daughter to be something, to aspire to be something less entitled and something that would require her to use her resourcefulness more. So then I started telling her about Marie Curie And I just received a WhatsApp forward about Dr. Muthulakshmi Reddy, so I was telling her that story. And my daughter, her name's Anya, she was intrigued. And then she wanted to know more about them. In fact, she thought I was making them up. And then I showed her the pictures and said, no, they're real people who've done these amazing things. And then that's how I started writing these books. And then I read them to both her and my younger daughter. And the good thing is, the amazing thing is that a week later, when we were having a similar conversation, Anya told me that she wants to be a scientist when she grows up. And that was an amazing
Fantastic.
transformation for me. Yeah. And a similar thing happened in a school, which I found incredibly touching because it was a science week, and I was invited towards the end of it. And the teacher, their science lead, told me that at the beginning of the week, the children had been asked to draw scientists, and most of them drew white males. But then that's a common association. I've read this elsewhere as well, that when people use gender neutral words like astronaut, doctor,
Mm.
physician, scientist, most people, not just children, associate them with males. So he said, after my visit, when I spoke about all these women, then they were again asked to draw scientists, and he said that more children drew themselves as scientists rather than just adult males. And I think that was
That's
marvelous. That
good.
was a real turning point for me because I felt like my books were making them see themselves as these figures that they aspired to be. So
Mm.
that was lovely. Yeah.
Brilliant, and long may that continue. There's on the website. There's 9 in the series.
Yeah.
Uh, are you thinking of building on the series more?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've got a whole list of people that I want to get
Yeah,
to. Yes.
yeah. There,
I'm planning to write a book on Helen Keller and her teacher Anne Sullivan next.
yeah. Good for
Yeah.
you. Yeah. I mean, all of these people, you're doing fantastic work, and you're providing us with resources that we can inspire children at a very early
Thank you,
age.
Dave.
That's
Yeah.
that's the most important thing. I think this is wonderful. I really do, folks. You need to get onto the website now. You've, in addition to your picture books, you've also written some novels. Do you want to say a little bit about those?
Oh yeah, sure. Those novels aren't yet published, but they're all set in India, and many of them are actually Jane Austen retellings. I love reading Jane Austen, still my comfort read. And yeah, a few of them are retellings of Jane Austen that are also set in India. And I've tried to work in themes of social justice into the novels as well, apart from family drama and romance, because well, in India things still need to change, as with all other places in the world. We're still in India, we're still battling, I would say, casteism, colorism, and sexism. So these are things that I've written about in my novels. And yeah, I'm hoping to find a publisher soon. Let's see.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
let's hope that that works out. People can have a look at it's on your website, so people can have a
yeah.
look at what the sort of material you've got, and hopefully, you never know, there might be a publisher listening to this, and
Fingers
if you,
crossed.
yeah, and if you are,
Yeah.
then visit the website, folks, and have a look at this, because there may be some business there that you can make through this. Um, what have you obviously you're a very busy mum, so you've got to do your family work and then sit down and produce these fabulous books. It must be really difficult to write.
Um, Well, I think it's a part of me. I don't think I can't not write. It sounds a bit boastful, but honestly speaking, I think that is the case because I find writing very relaxing. It calms me, and I think it's also the way I process emotions or things that are happening around me. So I've always been writing, even through my school years when I didn't write many stories. I had a journal in which I used to write every day. So and then I have a lot of odd bits of poetry. So so yeah, I've always been writing.
Yeah,
I think it's
you're
just neat.
you're very gifted. And in addition to all of that, you've now produced a resource for us in schools that's to do with AI. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Oh yes, I loved working on this. So this I was actually approached by this scientific group who are working on using artificial intelligence to improve electronic production and research. So they asked me if I would make a picture book explaining what they do to children. And it was a lot of fun because I got to speak to a lot of scientists and find out what they do. And it was funded by the UK, the EPSRC. So they wanted to have a solid outreach program explaining artificial intelligence in this context to primary school children. And if you want copies, you can actually approach them. They'd be happy to mail them to you. So it was we made up this character called April, who is the brains behind this whole project. And April creates electronic ways. April comes up with ways to improve electronic production and make it more efficient. So the story is based on that. It was a lovely project to work on.
Well, that's brilliant. Perhaps we'll make sure there's a link in the text of the podcast so that people can go and get that book as well, because that's not on your website, is it? That's a separate website.
Yeah, yeah, you would have to approach the April organization, yes.
Brilliant. And you also, amongst all of that, you even do some school visits.
Oh, yes, I love school visits. School visits are a lot of fun, and the kids come up with the most marvelous questions. I remember the last time when in a school I spoke about women in STEM, and a little boy came to me after the visit and he was like, "So you write about important women?" I said, "Yes." And then he was like, "So why haven't you written about your mother-in-law?" And I was like, "That is like the most random question anyone's ever asked me." It's hilarious.
Perhaps he's got a very influential mother-in-law. Perhaps there's a mother-in-law in his family that's very influential.
Oh, that was hilarious. And another 4-year-old asked me if I was an animal lover, and I said yes. And then she asked me if I would be willing to adopt an elephant. I was like, "Why do you have an elephant? You need me to adopt?" And she was like, "No, I just want to know." I said, "Okay." Well, probably if the elephant was homeless and really needed me to adopt it. Yeah, so children have these. I mean, they ask a lot of deep, insightful questions, but these were the funnier ones, yeah.
Well, we'll make sure there's a link to your website, but do you want to mention the address yourself, the website address?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Dave. So it's www.ramyajulian.com, RAMYAJULIAN.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure that link is just one click away. Folks, if I know there's some people who listen on their way to work and they're driving. I'm not saying you do that now, but when you get to your destination, wherever that may be, home or at work, double click on the podcast. It'll open up to a text and you're just one click away from this fabulous website with these wonderful books. Get a set of these. If you've got a school and you've got a little bit of budget for your library books, get these, because the picture books are worth it alone. They really are. There's wonderful characters, real life people. These aren't book characters that have made up. These are real life people. And I can honestly remember, I'm old enough to remember, folks, when Nelson Mandela walked to freedom. And I remember watching it on the television thinking, that man has been in prison for so long. And he walked down the street with people congratulating him on the way. It was just absolutely stunning. Find out about Nelson Mandela, kids, and all of the wonderful characters through Ramya's fantastic set of picture books. Ramya, thank you for your time today. Obviously, I'd only have to ask you what's next. I'm guessing you're going to get your illustrations back out and get back on the road again. Can I wish you well? And if any time you want to come back onto the launch pad to tell us about your next set of books or your next picture book, do come back, because it's lovely to get the diversity of voices and traditions and cultures and little bits insight of India. I can honestly say I've never been to India yet, but it is my hope that one day I will get there because it is a beautiful country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Dave.
Well, that's all for this week, folks. So until Eddie and Captain Dave take another flight of learning on the launch pad, every day, in every way, be ready, be safe, be respectful, and never forget to dream, believe, and shine. Eddie's Launchpads is an EdStar production for Dogsthorpe Infant School.